How is it going, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. For those of you that are new here, my name is Ethan Bridge. I'm host of the Social Media Marketing School podcast and the guy behind the Instagram page at The Marketing Ethan. Now, today I want to talk through some ways that you can find your ideal client on Instagram. I get a lot of questions saying, look, Ethan, I'm posting consistent content, I'm engaging with the community, but I just don't seem to be finding my ideal client. So there's often some strategies that I use personally to find my ideal client, and those are the things that I'm going to share with you in today's episode. So without any further ado, let's just dive straight into the first tip. Now, this one is pretty simple, and you've got to create targeted content. It is likely that your product or service solves a certain problem. If you are creating content that also solves that problem, then it's going to attract those ideal customers to your page, because that's the reason they're going to follow you in the first place. You are helping them solve a certain issue. But if you've got a product or service that helps them solve that issue even further, they're obviously going to be interested. And that's why it's super important to make sure you are consistent with your niche and your message through the content you produce. For example, I have a service where I teach people how to build their authority, grow their audience on social media so that they can monetize. The content I produce and post on Instagram is entirely revolved around those things. How to monetize your page, tips for getting clients, how to build your authority, how to present yourself as an expert. All of these different things are topics that I talk about on Instagram. So I can safely assume that everybody who follows me is going to be interested in my product or service. Granted, not everybody is going to want to buy. A lot of people just follow me because they want to consume the free content, and that's completely fine. I'm completely okay with that. But obviously there's going to be a few amongst those that would be interested in my product or service. So it's then my duty to try and identify those individuals from those that follow me and then build that relationship with those people personally so that I can then tell them about my product or service. But that's something we are going to talk about a little bit further down the line, so I don't want to go into it in too much detail right now. But back to the point. Your content needs to be targeted. If it's all over the place, like 1 minute you're posting a picture of your dinner, the next you're posting a quote, then you're talking about Instagram growth, and then you're talking about story hacks, and then you're talking about books you read, things like this, it's all over the place. People visiting your page are going to look at it and go, okay, what does this person actually offer? Why am I following this person? Are they going to consistently solve the problem I have? And therefore those visiting your page might not follow you in the first place. But if you can stick to a certain topic and solve a certain overarching problem, it's going to attract the right people to your page. So very simple, very quite obvious tip that for some reason many don't actually follow in the first place is create content that caters to the problems of your audience that also relates to the product or service you provide. Simple. Moving on to tip number 2, and this is one that I use to great advantage. You can't expect your content to just continuously produce inbound leads. You have to prospect. You have to reach out and seek out that ideal customer. You can't just expect everybody who's going to be interested in your product or service to follow you and reach out to you directly. It doesn't happen. 9 times out of 10, you actually have to go and seek out this individual yourself. So, again, we'll use me as an example. So I need to find people that are looking to build their audience on Instagram, establish that authority so that they can monetize their page. So then I'm thinking, right, who needs to do that? Who needs to grow their authority and build an audience so that they can sell their service? I know, coaches. So what I do then is I go onto specific hashtags. This is the tip. You've got to look at specific hashtags that your potential client is going to be using. And for me, that could be business coach, marketing coach, social media marketing coach, anything along those lines. They don't even have to be in the social media niche. It could be a fitness coach. It could be a mindset coach. All of these people still need to establish their authority and build an audience on Instagram, which is my service. So if I'm searching for these specific hashtags, I know that everybody that's going to be using them is going to be interested in what I have to provide, whether that just be my free content or whether I eventually build that relationship with them so that they purchase my service. But you have to seek out these people. You have to be looking for them. You can't expect them to come to you, because 9 times out of 10, somebody who is a meditation or a mindset coach isn't just going to stumble across my page. I have to go out to them. They will then realize the content I produce and the expertise I possess, and therefore I will then build that relationship with them. But if I hadn't seeked that person out in the first place, that opportunity would never have been there. But searching for those specific hashtags that clients could potentially be using is a great way to find that target customer. You've just got to think. But this all comes down to knowing who your ideal client is, who actually needs, who requires your product or service. For me, I've pinpointed that to, obviously, a certain group of people. I'm not going to explain all of them, but coaches are a perfect example. If a coach wants to sell their services on Instagram, they need to grow their audience, they need to establish authority. If they haven't done that, as a coach, it's not going to look very good on their part if they are then going and selling a service. But if they do build that authority, if they do grow their audience, then they will be able to. So who do they need to help them do that? Me. So I need to be seeking out those niche specific hashtags that my potential clients will be using and then reach out to them that way. Do not expect your customers just to come to you because of your content. You have to do both things. Don't get me wrong. If you can prove your expertise through your content, it will bring you inbound leads, and it is going to help with those potential clients that you reach out to. When they visit your page, see that you know what you're talking about. So your content still needs to be produced daily and to a high quality level. It helps from all aspects, but you can't just expect it to bring you inbound leads by itself. You have to do the work. You have to reach out. Yes, you're going to get rejected. Yes, it's hard, but you need to do it if you want that constant stream of inbound leads. Tip number 3. Now, I did mention I didn't want to talk about it too much in the first tip, and that's because I'm going to talk about it now, but it's leveraging the audience that you already have and finding potential clients amongst that group of people. When people follow you, you can't just send them a DM and go, oh, are you interested in this? You have to build that relationship. You have to understand whether they would be interested in it and sort of find out their problems and whether your service is going to actually cater to them. So how do you do this? I ask tactical questions within my stories. Stories are a great way to sort of sell, leverage your audience. They're more relaxed. People are more comfortable contacting you directly from them. But the one thing I do strategically is that I use the question sticker. I put up a little question sticker saying, what are your current struggles with growing your audience? What are your current struggles with establishing authority? What are you currently struggling with that's preventing you from monetizing your page? All of these tactical sort of questions that I know my potential client is going to be asking if they're currently struggling and need my service. But then from that, those that answer those questions, I know those are the individuals that do require my help directly. And because the question sticker populates all the different answers in a response analytics page, you can just click on it and respond to those individuals one by one on the DM. Answer their question, of course, because they've asked you the question and you've given the opportunity to, but slowly build that relationship with them and then feed in your product or service. Suggest that free discovery call so that you can really display your expertise, hit home on why they need you and how you can help, and that's when you can convert them into a client. But tactically using your stories and asking those strategic questions to find out problems and find those audience members that you already have that should require your product or service is a great way to getting more leads and actually finding that ideal client. Because if you don't ask those questions, you're never going to find out. You're constantly just going to have however many followers you have and not actually know whether these individuals do require your product or service unless they reach out to you directly. If you aren't building those relationships in the DMs, if you aren't asking those questions, then you're never going to know. So make sure you utilize your stories and ask certain questions to maximize that full potential that they have to offer. Now, finally, moving on to the last tip, and that is actually searching on your competitors' comments and their followings and people who engage with their content. This should just be a part of your engagement strategy anyway. You should be engaging in the comment sections of your fellow creators within your niche so that people then come and discover your page. It helps people realize what you do and how you can help them. But if they're asking questions to a creator or competitor, but that competitor isn't responding to them and helping them solve their problem, that's your opportunity to jump in. Answer their question for them. Get there before the other creator does. that gives you the opportunity to display your expertise. And that individual might then go, oh, this person knows what they're talking about. The other person didn't want to help me. Let me reach out to them. So you gain them as a follower, you begin building that relationship. Now, this is a very simple point, so I don't want to go into too much detail because it's pretty self-explanatory, but just leveraging the audience of your fellow creators. Search through their recent followers. If you can scroll through their followers and see certain individuals, personal brands or businesses that would really require your help, and you think, okay, let's do this, let's reach out to them, begin engaging with them, turn on their post notifications every single time they post, make them aware that you're engaging with them and you're interested in their content, send them a DM, get to know them on a more personal level. Don't go straight in and say, you need me. Build that relationship with them, make them realize why they need you without directly telling them. But it's similar to the point before where you're reaching out and seeking that ideal client opposed to them coming to you directly like they would through producing that niche targeted content. So final tip, leverage the audience that your competitors or fellow creators have. And that rounds up my tips and tricks on finding your ideal client. And I just want to mention again, you cannot expect your content to bring you inbound leads on its own. It will, but it won't bring you that consistent stream. You have to put in the work. You have to do that outreach. You have to be searching those niche hashtags. You have to be reaching out to people in the DMs, and you have to be asking those tactical questions in your stories. That way, your content will bring you inbound leads, and your prospecting is going to bring you even more leads. So there you go. That is how you find your ideal client. And that does wrap up today's video. If you did enjoy, I'd really appreciate if you hit that subscribe button, hit that like button, and turned on post notifications. That way you will never miss a video when I post every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. But I did just want to mention this is a part of my podcast series, Social Media Marketing School, and you can find it on pretty much any podcast platform, Apple, Spotify, Google, you name it. Just search it on there and you will find it. And the reason to be subscribed on the audio version of the podcast is because this content is released a couple of days earlier on the audio version of the podcast and then a couple of days later here on YouTube. So if you want to consume it sooner, subscribe over there. But if you've got any questions with regards to anything I did mention in today's video, just reach out to me on Instagram @themarketingethan. Send me a DM and I'll make sure I get back to you. But if you have made it to this point, I just want to finish off by saying thank you all for tuning in, and I'll see you in the next one.